Today, American elections are pretty much set in stone. There is convention, convention pick guy, guy pick vice president, guy gets most votes, guy and vice president come into office. However, it's never really that simple, and it definitely wasn't 226 years ago. So join me as I explain the bizarre nature of the 1800 election. To summarize insanely quickly, Washington beat the British at Yorktown. America creates the Constitution. Constitution says, yo, on bro electoral college. Washington runs unopposed in his first two elections and becomes president. However, the Constitution says, on bro wait, second place becomes vice president. And John Adams becomes vice president. Now it's 1796, and Washington says, yo, I'm kinda bored. So he retires to Mount Vernon, and the 1796 election between Adams and Thomas Jefferson turns violent. Well, not killing people violent, but you hurt my feelings violent. Adams calls Jefferson the worst insult in human history, a deist, and Jefferson calls Adams a monarchist, which actually at that time in American history was pretty much a huge insult. I should say that the candidates themselves didn't say these things because they didn't campaign back then, so it was really the supporters saying these things. Adams wins, but since the Federalist Party weren't careful with how they voted for vice president, Jefferson becomes vice president since he received 68 electoral votes, and Thomas Pinckney, the second Federalist candidate, only received 59. The White House becomes a mess, but not totally dysfunctional, since Adams and the Federalists still controlled the House. Adams signs the Alien and Sedition Acts, which pretty much makes it illegal to criticize the president. America was involved in a huge crisis at this time too, the Quasi-War, an undeclared naval war with the French. Adams desperately tried to sign a deal with France, but Vice President Jefferson, a staunch ally of France, undermined as many attempts as he could, claiming that France would get a better deal with him as president. However, little guy Napoleon was like, yo, no more monarchy, lil bro, and he signed a deal with Adams anyways on September 30th, 1800, a huge PR boost for the Adams campaign. The 1800 election was pretty nasty as well, with Adams making fun of Jefferson. Again, it was his supporters, not Adams himself, and Jefferson's supporters were calling Adams, and I quote, a hermaphroditical character which has neither the firmness of a man nor the gentleness of a woman. After a months-long nasty campaign, December 3rd, 1800 rolls around. Time to vote, and people did. 32% turnout, which in 1800 was kinda like a lot. Federalists win most of the northern states and learned from their mistakes at the last election. They give their 65 votes to Adams, and 64 give their second vote to Charles Pinckney, and the other one gives their second vote to John Jay. Democratic Republicans and Thomas Jefferson aren't as organized. They win the election, giving 73 votes to him, but all of them also gave their 73 second choice votes to Aaron Burr. Yes, that Aaron Burr. Burr refuses to concede the election and be vice president. So, in this case, since the election was tied, it was to be decided in the House of Representatives. The Federalist-controlled House of Representatives. So the Federalists, led by Alexander Hamilton, was like, yo, our guy John Adams can't win. So we gotta vote between these two. And the Federalist-controlled House was like, well, when all is said and all is done, Jefferson has beliefs, Burr has none. So they voted for Jefferson, and Jefferson was like, thanks, on bro, and became the president. Congress was like, yo, that can't happen again. So they changed the Constitution to the current system. It is now mandatory for the president to choose a vice presidential nominee alongside them for an election. And Burr was like, damn it, man, I'm going to shoot you. So he shot Alexander Hamilton in a duel in 1804. Kinda an elf thing to do. So on December 9th, 1803, Congress passed the 12th Amendment, and it was ratified by the states on June 15th, 1804. In the election of 1804, Jefferson was like, yo, get out of here, Burr, and picked George Clinton for vice president instead. Anyways, that was the bizarre story of the 1800 election and the 12th Amendment. If you liked how unserious this video was, some of my other videos are similar to this, but definitely not all of them. and the rest of this series definitely won't be. So if you didn't like the unseriousness, well, there you go.